As a professor, I'm on a really weird side at this moment where people think that I have a lot of money. And I'm going to be the first to admit we've made a lot of good financial choices, my family, and we're doing okay. But um, one of the challenging things that you face is often students think that you have lots of money. Everybody else that is in the profession understands just how much more work that is involved that is often free. We're kind of like glorified teachers in a lot of different ways in terms of how it's done. Uh, and how much we sort of took a step out because I actually teach business. I know these are financial numbers and I'm very well aware of them that most of us could actually go work in private industry, but we choose not to. I don't know why. Sometimes I do think there is a sunk cost fallacy that's going on, a very strong one. But what I have realized is that on all of these different sides, people have these very strong misconceptions of, finances and money in the academic career. And when I openly talk about it, when I say, this is what you're supposed to do, people get angry. Um, they immediately get offended in some sort of way. I've done all of the things that people would likely sort of scream at me about. I did go for multiple years without making an income. I left a job, I left a career as an engineer that was really financially lucrative, chemical engineer in the oil and gas industry. If I think about these things, you know, I was interested in oil and gas and software. Those are the two big things, which, I was very directed towards that. But I had to take a step back and recalibrate what it means to be me. And a big part of me is actually this real softer side, but also, a softer side that sort of realizes that there's more to this world than just finances, but also balancing this weird dynamic. I'm a rather weird person because I think of sort of financial concerns and I'm deeply well aware of them, but I'm also deeply well aware of the importance of the things that are not related to money. And when you do that, so this is the conundrum that you often face is that all people on all sides, they think I am sort of betraying the profession in some sort of way by talking openly about this kind of stuff, right? By saying, actually, you know what, money does matter. That's critically important. A lot of people will be like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? You're sort of ruining the profession. On the other side, um, I will say that no, actually, it doesn't matter for a lot of things. And the only way that you can get something to take off is by not worrying about money and by looking at things that are more humanistic and looking for those things. And so for myself, I'm building the Reciprocity Project. This is just the sort of fundamental tension that I face is, it's this platform to create non-rejectable research papers and make sure it's really fun so that everybody is having a great time or a better experience. So let's just say that, but it's fun and silly and goofy and uses like gamification features and things like that to help you out. Um, on one side, I often get, from more on the critical side of people looking at this and are like, this is not charity. And I deeply understand that this is not charity. And I struggle with that too. Um, I know how challenging that is. But on the other side, I have no idea how you do something like this unless you take this perspective of, yeah, you know what? It kind of is a little bit charity. And it's the same thing, it's very much the same thing that happens in whether you're being a professor or a researcher, or, often in lots of people's different careers, they face this. It's not unique that they often have to balance, yes, I'm doing it for the motives of, profit seeking and doing well, right? Like getting wages and things like that, all these other things. But there is a nuance to it that's much more deeper than that. That there has to be a reason over and above why you actually do that. Right? I can make far more money and by doing things that are far more simplistic, like just, whether it's cleaning, you know, doing cleaning services, right? Like those kind of things actually are fairly profitable if you do those well. Um, and so the message that you often have to openly talk about is that yes, it is important to think about and worry about finances, but figure out how you can live a life that's healthy, live a life that's rewarding, and that you enjoy and makes a difference and sort of moves the needle from the current. Where that is the thing that I think is really people don't understand. Profit seeking is about the current, right? It's maximizing what you currently have. But thinking about the future is often you have to make choices that are very costly. And often you make a lot of mistakes. I encourage you to watch a tech CEO, Mark Zuckerberg. I just listened to a podcast about him, and he was talking, and he's facing these exact same things and all of this criticism that everybody has about Facebook in terms of that, how do they make it profitable? How do they make sure that it's still somewhat humanistic and captures what we all want, but still generates profit? And he gets it wrong, right? There was early on, I think it was more humanistic. Then it became more profit seeking, and it was wrong for a while. It hurt the platform. And now I think that there may be some some changes to that where it's more humanistic again. I don't know. But I encourage you to think about that. How can you have all of these challenges? How do you make sure that you capture all of those bases so that, despite the fact that people are going to say that it's betrayal for you to think about, money concerns, but at the same time, making sure that you live a life that is meaningful and you disregard those things. That's ultimately the challenging thing that you have to face as professors and researchers. You know that deeply. But at the same time, you have to figure out how to move forward and do good stuff while balancing these often seemingly complicated and conflicting complex goals. All right. Take care and have a wonderful day.